Hello gamers, it's Wintermute here from Grind This Game. And it's been a while since I did any kind of videos about my colony, but there's been many updates since my last video. I think there's been version 0.37, 38, 39, and it's on to 0.40 now. Lots of new content, lots of new things introduced. And in this video I want to talk about the robot factory, which is this building down here. I've made quite a few of them. Now it kind of has two purposes. You can build a new type of vehicle in it called the construction drone, and it's pretty expensive in terms of materials. It requires 400 aluminum, some uranium, and some robots. And robots is a new currency which these buildings produce. So they're able to build a new drone, but they also produce robots as a currency. And you can see it up here. Well, you probably can't see it because it's so small, but it's one of the currencies at the top here. And if you look at a construction drone, if I can find one, so there's a bunch down here. They're busy building an investment bank here, but if you click build, you can see all the new things that it can build. So Antanium Synthesis Lab, it basically makes Antanium, or however you pronounce it, Antanium. It's a resource that the Zolarg Empire, which is like the bug race, can manufacture, but it's been opened up so that humans can make it as well. And it uses aluminum and it uses sugar, and it turns it into Antanium. There's also really new is the Advanced Synthetic Oil Lab, Advanced Plastic Factory. These two are really new. Also new, but not as new, is the vertical warehouse farm, which is like a better food production warehouse. The space elevator, which is like a souped up version of the galactic freight. It allows you to buy and sell quantities of 10,000, or is it 100,000? Let's see. So the space elevator allows you to import, units of 10,000 or export units of 10,000, and it's pretty crazy looking building. It's really tall. Here it is, zoomed way out. You can also build this residential tower, which is the most dense housing that the game offers right now. And I have one built here. So it can hold 1,100 residents, and it only takes up 2 tiles. The densest after that is this subterranean housing module, which holds 1,000 residents, but it takes up a 4x4 tile area, so 16 tiles. So it's not as efficient anymore to build these. It's better to build these residential towers. And they look pretty crazy. They're pretty big. There's also some new entertainment buildings, like the Medium Stadium. And I believe this Medium Stadium here, it's right here. I built one. So it has 125 workers. It can hold 100 guests, or sorry, 1,000 guests and 500 tourists. So it's a pretty big entertainment building. I think the art for these was made by not by the developer Brandon, but he's opened it up so that people can submit art for new buildings. If they're suitable, he includes them in the game. So I'm pretty sure the vertical farm, this one, because it looks quite a bit different, was from the player base, from fans or players. One of the ones that was added was the House of Horrors here. I have it deactivated, but I'll just activate it for a second so you can see it a bit clearer. There it is. The only downside to having user-submitted art is that the styles may be different than kind of the original styles of the art. I don't know. I don't know if it's a positive or a negative. It's more, you'll have more styles in the same game, but if they look too different, I think it might make the game look not as nice. But so far, they seem pretty good. The drones can also make the Capital Level 6, which is the largest Capital building now. It requires tons of resources, as you can see. Huge amount of resources, but it generates a lot of civic points. And the investment bank, one of my new favorite buildings, also requires a ton of resources. A lot of plastic, 50,000 plastic, 25,000 aluminum. And it generates cash. So if you look under the description, employs hundreds of paper pushers in a high-rise bank and extracts money from pockets all over the galaxy. So I built quite a few because if you hover over them, you can see them generating cash really quickly. The status bar is just flying there. If I turn the text poppers off or on, so you can see it's making $32 like multiple times a second, versus the old kind of money maker that I used to use was the Galactic Board of Trade, and it generates $25 every, I don't know, 10 seconds or so. So this thing really cranks out the money. It also employs 500 workers, so it's a really good, dense way to kind of, if you want to ramp up your population really fast, these are really good ways to do it. 3 of the really new buildings are the Triantanium Refinery, which generates a new kind of ore called Triantanium. I haven't built a lot of it yet. I'm close to 3,000 again. And that's this building here, this funky looking blue thing, which actually requires no workers. So I think one of the themes in the game now, since the update with the robot factory, is that more and more buildings will require robots instead of humans. And that's supposed to, some kind of parallels in the real world with more and more robotics and AI kind of taking away human jobs. It's kind of an interesting theme. These refineries consume robots at a really fast rate. So you're going to have lots of robot factories, and I've built quite a few here, and I'm trying to build more to keep up with the robot demand for these Triantanium refineries. Say that 3 times fast. One of my new favorite buildings is this Center for Artificial Learning. It requires a ton of resources, lots of aluminum, lots of plastic, lots of robots, and it generates tons of research. But it consumes microchips and robots while it generates that research. So you can kind of see here it's generating 750 research every probably 2 or 3 times a second. I don't need any more. I've kind of done all the research, but there may be new research in the future that we'll need these buildings for. I'm up to 281 million research, so it'll be interesting to see what comes next in terms of research. And then the newest building is the Advanced Robotics Inc., which is this green building. I've only built one so far. It takes 700 workers, and it requires 3,000 of that new mineral that's produced, Triantanium. And it's an upgrade from the robot factories. So if I click on one of my robot factories, well, I don't see the upgrade link right now because I don't have all the resources, but it's an upgrade to the robot factory, and it produces robots at a much faster rate. As you can probably see, the R01 kind of popping multiple times a second here, versus you can see the status bar moving extremely slowly on the robot factory. I'll put a link in the description to a site that gives you all the stats of all the buildings and how much they produce, just to give you an idea of how the robot factory compares to this new Advanced Robotics Inc. There's a general theme for higher towers and buildings, as you can probably tell. So that's all the buildings that the construction drone can build. The 2 newest ones are these 2 here, the Advanced Plastic Factory and Advanced Synthetic Oil Lab. I have the oil lab deactivated at the moment because it takes food, regolith, and charcoal and turns it into oil. And it also uses robots. So I would rather just buy oil on the market than kind of consume my robots at this time. So I usually just go into like the space elevator and import a bunch of oil. It's usually cheap, 184,000 per 10,000. So I usually just do that. The Galactic Board of Trade is kind of, it's not, I don't think it's working as intended. Often you'll try to buy something and there won't be any inventory. So if we look at robots, so you'll see often prices in here are really, really expensive, and often they'll be completely out of the quantities that you need. The advantage is that you can buy in larger quantities, but so here we get 2,000 of this new mineral for 500 million cash, which is kind of crazy. 25 million per 100, but I don't think you can import it because it's a manufactured good. So in this case, I like to just produce it myself using these new buildings. I'm probably going to build quite a few of these Triantanium refineries just to be able to get a lot of that ore. There's also a few new quantum buildings, the quantum oil tank, which holds a lot more oil, and the quantum distillery, which holds a lot more rum. I finally built my statue of unbridled excess. It took, in terms of online time, it probably took 30 to 40 hours to build this. And I had a lot of megabots building it, probably about 30 or 40 megabots. It took a long time. There's also a new kind of road, the aluminum road, which costs 30 aluminum per tile, and it's supposed to be super fast. Since I paid for the no ad version of this game, just to support the developer, Brendan, I use rainbow roads instead. Now, I think they're comparable speed to the aluminum road, but I'm not quite sure about that. There's lots of new decorative elements as well, cactus and palm trees and deck chairs, and I made a little area out of them here. A fountain and a desert skull and stuff. It's pretty cool looking. There's also some cool new kind of utility things. So if you go under Commonwealth, you can see all the different players that have joined your Commonwealth. And there's actually, I'll go in a different video, I'll go into this a bit more, but there's like a star map now where you can see all of these on a star map and where they are relatively to you. Some of these are my own villages or towns that I've, like Belter Syndicate, Bug Test, and Moonbase 1 and Proxima Prime are all mine. And you can also see who's online and offline. That was added fairly recently. When people come online now, it shows a status message at the bottom of the screen now, which is kind of handy. So you can send messages to your Commonwealth people in real time. So if you click one of these, this is not me, this is someone else. You can send them a gift. So I want to send them some money because I'm a nice person. Send them some money. You can also send them a message. You can go to their homepage. Like there's a website for each colony. You can denounce them, like kick them out. And you can demand a tribute. You can say, pay me money right away. There's diplomacy, which allows you to become an embassy with another colony. So you just enter their code and that allows you to open trade with them, which is very handy. And it even works like, I have a Zolarg base and I've been able to establish a trade with them. So they're really good at farming, let's say, the new Antanium minerals or like sugar, so I can send that to this base if I need it. And the Zolarg race isn't really good at making ore, so I send a lot of my excess ore to that Zolarg base. I have about 84 million ore, so I often send materials back and forth. Well, whether you own the bases or not, you can just open trade routes with other players, which is really nice. You can also mass mail all your members now, which is kind of nice. Give it a description, that's pretty new. Auto budget is one of my favorite. So you used to have to click, whenever you owed taxes, you'd have to click quite a bit. And if you went AFK for a while, you'd have to come back and click the pay taxes over and over. So that's really handy. So it'll just pay automatically if you have enough money. You can turn, immigration's not that new, but you can, if you want to limit the speed at which your colony is ramping up, you can turn off immigration. And then infrastructure repairs, actually one of the ideas I put in the forums a while back, because there's no sinks, or very few sinks in the game for money. And this was an attempt, I don't know if it was based on my suggestion or whether someone else's suggestion, but buildings wear out over time now, and you'll have to come in and repair them once in a while. At least they made a button that lets you do it all at once. But it's not automatic, so if you left the game running for, let's say, a week or something, and the building condition went down to 0%, I think it blows up or it shuts down or it stops working. So if that ever happened to your food, your colony would collapse and people would die. The other new thing is these little animations. So some of the buildings now have cool little animations. You can see little fish swimming here, or the aluminum coming down. They look like little sugar cubes. The mining, artifact mining, has a little animation. They'll probably get it. He's probably going to add more and more of those as time goes by. Adds just a little bit more spice to the game. The transmission hub building down here. This is what allows you to start trade with other colonies, which allows the diplomacy. One thing I forgot to mention. Since the robot kind of building and all the robot related buildings came out, there's been a big demand for plastic, because when you want to build one of these robot factories, it requires 2,000 plastic, and I don't think a lot of players had a lot of plastic inventory or the ability to make plastic, so I've made a lot of plastic factories. That's this building over here. I made a ton of them because I didn't want to, well, there wasn't any plastic on the market to buy. It's not something you can import on from the space elevator because it's like a durable good that's produced. So you won't see it here. The only place you can find it is in the Galactic Board of Trade. In any kind of substantial quantity, it's about 200,000 per 100, which is pretty expensive. So the prices for plastic spiked after that update, and so that's why I went ahead and built all these plastic factories. This map isn't very exciting. It's more of it is my main base, but I haven't been tending to it very much. I just try to build the new buildings and see how they work. But I am trying to ramp up my robots production, and I want to build more of these advanced robotics Inc. There is another new couple buildings here. The synthetic textile mill, which is a upgraded version of the regular textile mill. I didn't build any because it requires ant paste, but it does make cloth at a faster rate. I didn't want to import ant paste. Now I can actually send ant paste from my Zolarg base, now that we have a trade relationship. So I might actually build some of these. The other new one here is Subterranean Charcoal Cavern, which is an upgraded storage of this charcoal pile. I should have actually built those instead of these. One thing to note, the investment bank, it takes a very long time to build. As you can see, here's the money counter kind of going down. I'd say it takes like about 30 minutes to build with this number of bots. Actually, one more building is the food processing sweatshop, and it uses sugar and it creates food. And there is a way to create sugar on the human map, which is with the artificial sweetener factory, but it's pretty expensive. It turns oil and aluminum into sugar. Kind of an expensive way to make sugar. It's probably easier to buy sugar on the market or start a Zolarg colony and mine sugar on the Zolarg map and then send it to your parent colony. And then this is a really fast way to make food, this food processing sweatshop, but you need a lot of sugar to generate the food. You can see it's kicking out like 2,000 food every few seconds. I'm kind of capped on food right now, so a lot of these buildings are not creating any food. One thing I didn't realize before was that the space elevator actually acts like a landing pad. It brings in colonists to your base, and I think it does quite a few compared to the speed of the landing pad. It does kind of say something in the description about that. It says it also facilitates colonist immigration, so it might be a more efficient way to get people in your colony than landing pads, especially if you have a big accidental colony collapse where colonists die. Might be a faster way to get them back in. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this episode, all the new buildings. In the next episode, I'll probably cover the new kind of star map and some of the new stuff coming up. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to be alerted on future videos. And as always, thanks for watching.